Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I hope that you can hear my voice. That is good. And you can also see my presentation. Lovely. I'm going to start the lesson. I have at the recording. So anybody who's going to be not here with us, inshallah, they will be able to access the recording. So starting the lesson in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This is our writing session week 5, and I have prepared this one slightly different to previous weeks. I am going to walk you through a series of tips for making your writing better, inshallah. And where I can, I'll give you some activities, and obviously we will end with homework. So this week I'm not going to talk about homework. Last week I spent a lot of time on homework. This week I am going to just skip. A small number of students submitted their homework, but they've been marked, and I've sent it to each and every one of you that you did submit. Let's see how we go this week. So this week I'm going to put 10 total number of 10 tips. Some of them might be repeat, but this is coming from TOEFL IBT websites, one of the websites. So I'll talk through the first 5 and then the next 5. Normally, I used to do this one over 2 sessions, but this year I've decided to do the tips all in one night. Hopefully, I'm not going to bore you to death, and I hope that my colleagues will make sure that the recording is going to be available earlier, so that people who are not joining, they will be able to have access. If not, PowerPoint will be shared with you. And I think last week the PowerPoint was shared a little bit late. I'll find out if it is going to be late, then I will share it myself with you. So the very first 5 tips to improve writing skill. Number 1, TOEFL IBT says that make sure that you plan your writing. Whether you're writing an essay, whether you're writing a paragraph, whether you're writing a review, you need to plan. And plan is not new to you, because we have been talking about one way of planning for the last 2 weeks. Number 2, you need to know what the examiner wants. Number 3, give yourself a word limit. Number 4, stick to the prompts. Number 5, write, meaning practice. So I'll talk about these 5s in detail, and then we will jump into the second part of the tips, which is 6 to 10. When they are talking about planning your essay, make sure that you've got a good plan. And for writing an essay, it is the planning that is going to be making the reader occupy, and you're going to get their attention, and they're going to be paying a little bit more detail and read it with sort of more passion. Not just, it won't be a job, it will be, oh wow, kind of a reading. Meaning that we need to make sure that in your writing, your paragraphs are flowing, going from one paragraph to the next one. You have got a proper introduction and a good discussions. The body is going from one topic to the next topic, and so on. This is what I mean. Noting down a short essay plan before you start writing will help you use your time more efficiently. And if you remember, we have talked about this a number of times, that by the time that you're going to be writing, setting up for the official TOEFL, you need to practice, so then you are not going to be um, going against the time, that the time is going to be up and you have not finished your writing. When you know what you are going to be writing, you don't have to pause, you don't have to panic, and you will be able to complete your paragraph because you have it planned. There are several common TOEFL IBT essay plans that work very effectively. But what is most important is what works for you. I've mentioned this before. There is not one formula that I can give it to you. And I know that a few of you have asked. And for the last 3 years that I have been working with AOUO on TOEFL IBT, each time I have one or two students in the 16 week that they keep on asking, dear teacher, do you have any magic formula to tell me how I can make my writing perfect? Unfortunately, I don't have a magic wand. I don't have nothing to tell you. What I can do is what I will research, what works with as many students, and I'll share with you, and also what TOEFL IBT websites tells us. You will have to try and see what works for you. Having an organized plan is essential to make sure that you are going to be successful in your TOEFL IBT, because it ensures that the examiner will be able to know where to look in your essay. You may have written great work in the past, but if your essay is not organized, it is disorganized, it can make it very difficult for you to achieve the grades that you deserve. I have been very generous with my feedback. I have been very generous to also to give you a score that I don't want to break your heart. Some of you that are getting really high scores, no, with you I haven't been generous. You earn it. You really earn it. But for some of you, I really need to give you a bad score, but I'm just going, oh, this is the beginning of the journey. I need to be a little bit nice and gentle with you. But I will, if it is bad, I will let you know. You need to know what the examiner wants. For you to know what the examiner wants, you need to check the writing rubrics for TOEFL IBT. I've mentioned this before, but I have not shared one with you. I do have some rubrics. I will share it with you. I have not given it to you. I will share it with you. So I will share a rubrics, but I also want you to see my previous PowerPoints. And every week, I will do my best to expose you to more tips, more advices to have you prepared. When I give you feedback, for the last couple of weeks, I've tried to give you a very informal rubrics. Like I actually create one and then I put that one in to give you some idea. But there are some formal rubrics. I will share that formal with you too. That is how you know what the examiner wants. Number 3, give yourself a word limit. When you're going to be doing the official assessment, they will tell you that for a academic writing, it has to be between 150 to 200. I will make sure that when you are going to be doing it, I will make it longer than 150 to 200. I will push you while you're practicing with me. So then you are forced to do a word count, and you are going to be using, increasing your vocabulary, and I'll do my best also to assist you in the way. For the integrated essay, it's normally between 250 to 300, but as I said, each time I will give you from now on, I will tell you your word limit. By giving yourself a word limit, it allows you to stay focused, because when they are counting, they are not going to count the repeated words. So it means between 150 to 200 new words, the repeated one is not going to be counted, and between 250 to 300 also they're going to be counting the new words. So the common is, was, the verbs, once it's going to be counted, the second time is not going to be counted. This will also force you to consider what is essential in your essay, and it will give you a higher score rather than wasting space. So you should be putting what is meaningful. Remember that quality, not quantity. Even if it means that you are aiming for 200 and your essay is, if it says 150 to 200, if you have written 150 and you're struggling to add new words, I would rather you stay with 150 than to add vocabularies that have got nothing to do with the topic. So if it is going to be 250 to 300, even if you are between 249, 250, or short of 300, don't add unnecessarily extra words when you can't use it wisely. This is what we mean by quality is better than quantity. Number 4, stick with prompts. Quite often, the question that you're going to be given to write your essay, they will give you some prompts, some keywords. Remember the very first week that we started TOEFL IBT with me? What did I do? I gave you 2 pictures live. And with those pictures, I put some keywords. And then I said, give me a paragraph using these keywords. And then after that, I gave you topic and I said, brainstorm. And then in brainstorm, I give you some keywords. Reading the questions, extracting the most important points is very important. So you really need to also master reading, analyzing paragraphs. That is how you're going to be able to stick to the prompts. So it will ultimately save time if you do this after each paragraph rather than at the end you realize that you have written on a completely different topic. This will also help you to process how you will move into the next paragraph. With not much time, it is best to ensure that you stay on the track throughout your TOEFL IBT writing. While this is more applicable for academic writing tasks, it can also be good to keep in mind during your integrating writing, during your reading, during your listening, during your speaking. Make sure that you pick up the most important point and stay with this. Don't run in a different direction for the sake of talking, for the sake of writing, for the sake of speaking. Number 5 was write, and write more. Here it's talking about practicing. And you guys are lucky because you already have taken the very first step. You have enrolled into this course. one thing that I see is nearly 2025 students were joining the first 2 weeks. The numbers have dropped. The timing is still 2 to 3. So I don't understand. Then, even if you don't join live, you should be reading the PowerPoints. And you should be brave to take part to doing your homework. Maximum, my feedback might be that you are completely on the wrong path. And I'll be guiding you. If it is that bad, I'm happy to say, please go back and rewrite this one again. You're not losing anything. Neither am I. But I see that motivation is down, participation is low. So only a handful of you are practicing. I'm here. My suggestion to you that are those who are attending weekly or doing your homework, encourage. Put that one in your Telegram. Put it in. As busy as I am, I am doing my best to read and give you feedback. In a couple of weeks' times, probably in 3 weeks, maybe 2.5 or 3 weeks, I'm going to have a short break from my work. So if you guys if you missed week 1 and week 2 and week 3, or any of those weeks, you keep on sending. If I don't give you feedback right away from the previous week, I promise you during my 1 week holiday, I will spend time and I will give you a little bit more feedback. Even if you guys wanted, if you wanted me to do 2 sessions in that week, I'll be happy to help you. But you need to take a step forward. You need to do this. Only one of the students I wrote to me to say that it took me this long. At the stage that you're in, you're not going to be there for the 20 minutes. But every week you practice, you will. I promise you, you will get there. But you have to find ways. How are you going to do it? So the next steps, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Number 6 says, be sure to add to the discussion. Don't just repeat the point and ideas from discussions in your response. And on this, I will spend some time after I see your work this week. I have some idea how I can help you on number 6. Number 7 is stick to few simple verb tense. And for us, that English is not our first language, we struggle in this. But so far, I have not seen you. So I mentioned this at the very beginning of TOEFL IBT when I started in week 2. Mashallah, I see that this group, your standard is higher. Keep up the good work. Try to include multiple sentences with more than one clause. If we are giving you more than one clause, that's when you need to use combination sentences. Plan to edit for at least a minute. Because if you have a spelling problem, that's where you're going to be losing your mark. Because during the TOEFL IBT, they will make sure that the spell check is close. So you won't see, like how we type and normally spelling mistakes and grammar mistakes are highlighted. During your official TOEFL, you won't have that advantage. Number 10, practice writing at home, at work, on your weaknesses. And from week 1, I try to tell you what is your weakness and what is your strength. So let's talk a little bit more about these points. Number 6 was be sure to add to the discussions. Don't repeat points and ideas from the discussions. So here I'm giving you a format from TOEFL IBT. This was on July 26, 2023. They introduce this one as part of writing academic discussions, and it replaced the independent writing task. Where in this one, you normally have a lecturer that is posing a question, then two teachers expressing their idea. Your task is going to be to write a discussions on this. And this is the problem, that everybody try to rewrite. Like, for example, you're going to rewrite, Dr. Williams says this, Brian says this, Alex says this, and everybody just rewrites the points. That's not the case. If you're going to be talking about what Dr. Williams says, then you need to add your discussion point. Agreeing, disagreeing, you might be agreeing in some point, you might be disagreeing with the other. You'll have to give examples and you have to back up. So is with Brian, so is with Alex. And you have practiced it, but not in this format. But from this week, that's what we're going to be doing. So in this example above, the professor poses a question about whether globalization has a positive or negative effect on society. Brian believes globalization is positive because it brings people and culture closer together, while Alex thinks globalization leads to exploitation of developing countries. When it is time to write, be sure to add to those discussions. So which means you need to talk whether about the positive and the negative effect and give example. And then you need to mention whether you agree that it is bringing cultures closer or not, and give examples. And if they are talking about exploitation of the developing countries, if you agree and disagree, you need to add to this. We don't just go and reword and put that and that's it. Don't just repeat the same point made by the students or by the professor. Look at some sample. So I'm going to give you a response. The points highlighted are additional ideas that contribute to the discussions. So I am giving you an example in the next slide. In my opinion, this is an essay that has been written. In my opinion, globalization is positive force in the world today. My personal belief is that when nation interacts together, it leads to less suffering. For example, people who suffer from natural catastrophes can import goods and services to help mitigate their loss and recover quickly. I wish that was so true, especially right now with what's happening in Afghanistan and Qatar. Citizens of nations who may be going through war, famine, can flee to the neighboring countries for shelters. Don't we know this? We have lived this for over 40 years now. I understand Alex's concern over cultural homogenization, but I believe she misses another critical point. Much of the food found in grocery stores around the world is imported. Our very diet is due to the international trade partnerships and alliance forged over the last half of the 20th century. International trade and travels are not possible in a world without globalization, which is why I believe it's crucial to maintain our current global policies for a safer world with a higher standard of living. This is a very good example of it. Number 7 was stick to few simple verb and tense. Test trackers tend to quickly think that they have to use complicated grammar in TOEFL writing section to earn a I score. If your standard and grammar is not up to it, don't do that, because that's where you make mistakes. But however, I think you don't lack that, so you should be fine. I think some of you have even said that it's too simple. You can improve it, your standards. This isn't true. In fact, for academic discussion task, you only need 3 verb tenses: simple present, simple past, and present perfect. So in the next slide, I've highlighted all of these verbs used in my response to the questions about globalization. And almost all of them are in the simple present. For example, let's say that the reading passage states. So let's look at it. So I've highlighted about the verbs that before I read it, but we were not talking in this direction. In my opinion, globalization is a positive force in the world today. My personal belief is, because we are talking about this still about present tense, that when nation interacts together, it leads to less suffering. For example, people who suffer, people, we're talking about more than one, suffer from natural catastrophe, can import goods and services to help mitigate their losses and recover quickly. Citizens of the nation who may be going through war or famine can flee to the neighboring countries for shelter. I understand Alex's concern over culture homogenization, but I believe she misses another critical point. Much of the food found now, past, in grocery store around the world is imported. Our very diet is due to the international trade partnerships and alliance forged past over the last half of the 20th century. International trade and travel are not possible in a world without globalization, which is why I believe it is crucial to maintain our current global policies for a safer world with a higher standard of living. Number 8 was try to include multiple sentences with more than one clause. According to the Michael Goodline at Test Resources, so I've given you a link in here, the TOEFL IBT examiners likes writing sample that includes sentences with subordinating and coordinating conjunctions. So what are these two terms? I've given you a definition. A subordinating conjunction is a word or a phrase that links a dependent clause to an independent clause, while a coordinating conjunction joins two elements of equal importance. I do have a table that I will share it with you with a list of this. It is not required to include this conjunction in your response, but it helps you craft sentences with 2 or more clauses, which will have a positive impact to your score. I have highlighted the sentences from the globalization example response that includes the multiple clause. Now, this time I'm not going to read it because I think you're going to get sick and tired of me reading the same content for the third time, but I have highlighted it. So please at your own time, read it. And let's just go to number 9. Take the time to edit. And I think this is where you lack, because mistakes are there and you just submit it. One of the best TOEFL writing tips I could possibly share here is to leave yourself time to edit. Give yourself at least 1 or 2 minutes. Finish your planning, your essay around the 9 minute mark so that you at least have a minute to edit your essay. Uh, It's annoying, I know. That's right. You will be responsible for finding spelling and grammar mistakes yourself. Also, be sure to pay special attention to the spacing and punctuation. Leave space between words and commas and full stop and other punctuations, because that's where it's going to be important for you. And I hope that you're going to be okay with this. And if you need, just put it in the chat box if I need to give you anything extra on that. Number 9 is continuings here. Here are some common mistakes that is normally found in an essay. Capitalization, spelling error is number 1. 2, capitalization and spacing mistakes, meaning that at the beginning of the sentence, students are forgetting to start capital letter. Or names that should be with capital letter, they forget about it. Problematic introduction of sentence, that you forget to say what the essay is about. Personal areas of weakness are use of the articles, subject verbs agreements, sometimes with a verb, but I think it's the past that is normally is a mistake, problematic. Read your response loud for yourself, because normally you can pick it up as you are reading. Listen to hear if your sentence sounds okay. If part of your response sounds strange, you may have some awkward grammar that you need to fix it yourself. Number 10, feedback. Find someone to proofread it for you. And I think now that we are in week 5, if you feel comfortable, ask a friend to proofread it for you. I don't think that you're at the stage that I would say ask each other, because you're doing exactly the same. But a friend would be good. Ask a friend. Ask a family member. Can you just read, look out for spelling mistakes and basic grammar? Because you don't want them to cut it into pieces and give you too much. But there is also a YouTube in here that gives some ends. So when I share the PowerPoint, please check it. Your homework. About the same, very similar to what we just went through. The professor. Today we are discussing the ethic of targeting advertising. Some people argue that online advertising, which uses personal information to target specific people, is an invasion of privacy. Others argue that it's simply an acceptable way to reach consumers with products and services they are interested in. What's your take? Do you think targeted advertising is ethical, or is it an invasion of privacy? Jessica is the student, and so is Mike. Jessica says, I think targeted advertising is an invasion of privacy. Advertisers shouldn't be able to track and use our personal information to sell us products. It's not fair to consumers, and it is a violation of our right. Instead, advertisers should focus on creating high-quality ads that appeals to a broad audience. By doing that, they can both increase their sales and show respect to their customers. What does Mike say? Mike, I disagree with Jessica. To me, targeted advertising is ethical. It's more efficient way to each consumer with products and services that are relevant to their interest. With the money they save by using more effective marketing techniques, companies can afford to offer lower price to their customers. Plus, we can always opt out targeted advertising by adjusting our privacy setting. As long as we get a choice, I think targeted advertising can be beneficial. So, slide number 21 is the most important one for you. And then I have given you the same. Where did I normally talk you about? So it is an academic discussions. The professor is teaching a marketing class, writes a post regarding to professor questions. In your response, you should express whether you support your opinion with the opinion or not. Make contribution to the discussions in your own words. An effective response should be at least 100 to 150. So this is the week that I'm going to be doing word count. You should give yourself 10 minutes for writing the essay, but if you take longer, that's okay. But do your planning. Plan it first. Then write the essay. Do your word count. And then, but over time. See how long you take for your planning. See how long you take to do the essay. Make sure that you do your spell checks and grammar check and send me by email. You have my email and I look forward to receiving it to see how you're going so then I can um, plan to see what we need to do to improve the next part.